I think that the conversation that we had about your website and the paragraph on your website, how you weren't aware that that was there, showing you that and what your customers, international customers see, I think that opened your eyes to see that something like iParcel was a fit, was a good kind of product for your company. I also like how I redirected at the end to ask for everyone else's time instead of your time. Because if I asked you to do it, I can't guarantee you're going to do it. But if I go do it after this, and I can set those dates with them, so it wasn't important for me to review the exact dates with you, because that's something I need to align with the people who are actually doing it.
Okay.
So I like those two facets.
Okay. Sandy, one thing that you think he did well.
I think he did a really nice recovery when you were lost on, I think there's a slide 2 where it was showing 77% global e-commerce. I think slide was busy, you were lost, and you told him so. But I think you did a nice recovery in telling him basically how it's going to help you grow your business. He just took you right back to,
And he knew his material, right?
Yes.
The way he flipped back and forth
Yes.
between them?
Yes, absolutely.
So, all right. Good. Go ahead, Matt. One more good thing.
I thought you did an absolute killer job with the whole thing. You were in command the entire time. You were very knowledgeable, and it almost seemed harder for the customer to have objections. It almost seemed like they were struggling more with objections than you were with delivering your message. Just overall, completely confident and knowledgeable. I thought it was stellar.
Thank you. Good. So, Brian, anything to add on that? What do you think of the assessment by your 3 folks here from a strength standpoint?
From a strength standpoint, I think that you did a nice job with it. I think you did have command of the whole entire call. I think that you got to the point right out of the gate. You were basically saying, here's what I want to review with you today, and here's why I'm here. The one thing that I would say in regards to that, though, is that after you stopped that, you said, are there any questions? And what I thought about that was, man, if you have an agenda and you have a direction you want to take this guy down, too many times what will happen is if you open that up, all of a sudden this guy's going to say something, he's going to take you way off course of where you want to go. And so if you already have it planned and you got it lined out and you're gonna go forward, don't stop in that moment to say, hey, do you have any other questions? And he's gonna say, oh yeah, you know what? Well, I'm glad you're here. Well, I got this email or whatever, and I got a lost package or something we need to take care of. You know what I'm saying? Now all of a sudden it's taking you off of your game at that point. But I thought that without that, you're right on track there.
Okay, so we quickly moved on to something you can improve on, right? Okay, so let's go to that.
Okay.
So we have one thing on your list right now of potentially the things you could choose as the one thing you're going to focus on. So the first thing on our list is maybe not asking early in the call, especially during your agenda, if there's any questions.
Okay.
Okay? So we have that one noted. From your perspective, one thing, think through it.
Yeah.
What's the one thing you think was most impactful that you could have done better?
The import control.
Why?
I could have found more pain for you specifically to make you want to jump on it, as opposed to that may be something I could talk to my vendor about. I could have found a better way to propose that to you to where you would have seen this is an absolute necessity to have this.
Okay, so that's a moment, right? You don't get to go yet. No. You guys are enjoying this,
This
aren't
is
you?
fun. I don't like this.
You're enjoying this, aren't you? I am. All right. John, do you agree with him? Or is there something else during the call you think was more impactful he should be working on?
No, I would agree. I would agree with Austin in regards to the import control, because it did seem like he explained it, but then to his point, or even Brian's point, without really pushing the pain into the wound, you didn't really see where it brought benefit to you. It almost seemed like it added work on for you and your people, so you weren't really seeing the value behind it and as to why it should be important to you guys.
Okay. All right. So I like that. What do you think?
I kind of just agree. Maybe Austin wasn't necessarily talking to the right person about the import control and then the paperless invoice, just because the president isn't the one doing those tasks. But I understand where you're coming from him needing to sign off on it, the financial impact. So I just think maybe actually somehow gearing both of those slides towards the president and how it could impact the president's role in the organization.
So I like that, we got more specific, because
Yeah.
now it's about, I know you wanna go.
Jump into the bid here, go ahead.
Now it's not about the moment itself, but now you're getting into a skill. Because you're talking about, did we properly position this to the contact based on who he is, what his job is? So both of those slides kind of took me down a tactical road with a lot of detail, right? I'm not a tactical road detail guy. I want to know the bottom line, and if it should be happening, get it done. Right? So you guys got more specific. So I got consensus from 3 on the moment and a little more detail. Brian, what do you think?
So, really in that situation to me, you didn't understand some of the processes you were doing internally in your own company. You didn't know. So I was thinking maybe in your situation, it would have been better if you would have laid out, here's what the current process is of what you do, and here's what the new proposed is. And you could have made it a lot easier so that way he would have understood where things are at. Because he didn't know, and he questioned that a couple times. Like, is this what we really do? Is she really spending this much time? Well, because I went through the organization, we did a site evaluation. I met with this person, this person, this person. Here's what we uncovered. Here's what your current process looks like. Boom, right here, done. Here's what I'm proposing on how I can fix this. Here it is, boom, done. And now here's what the impact is to you, done.
So you think maybe some sort of like chart almost showing like current process like 5 steps, a new process like 3 steps, and
Yeah.
the financial impact.
Even if you could even just go in a couple of those steps right there. Boom, boom, boom. We do this is how much time we spend in each one little thing. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take away all that and I'm gonna cut it down to this. Here's where your time saving is. You could have had that all on the right side, and here's what the impact would have been. To me, that would have taken out any of the guesswork from him, because he's like, I don't really know if this is true or not, because I have no idea, because he doesn't do it. And now he's thinking like, geez, am I really spending all this time doing this?
So I think we've all agreed on the moment, but there's actually 2 different opinions here on why I reacted the way that I did. Brian's is that it wasn't clear enough to me and that I didn't really understand my own process to understand the gap. You guys feel that it's that it wasn't properly tailored to my needs.
You know, I think had this been, because one, you were a little bit lost because you are president, you're not the process guy. Had he said, okay, what happens when these shipments are delayed? What's the financial impact to you? If it's raw material, you would get it right away. Okay, now we need to fix it. The pain wasn't there. Okay, I understand the process, I understand the time. You're thinking, okay, well, they give them extra 20 minutes, they're just gonna, whatever, we'll talk, it's not like it's gonna be spent in making calls to get new customers. So what if I bring you the impact? Okay, the delayed package, raw material, customers don't get their product, and your money is tied up.
So I think what you're saying, Sandeep, is
Yes.
that the pain for me isn't necessarily in the process or the lack of efficiency in the process, it's what it costs me as
Yes.
a result.
I think so.
So I think if we took all of those and wove them together, I as the president need to know that you did a thorough job step by step moving through and understanding what my process was. I need to know what you did. Okay? If it's on a slide, it's okay, but the amount of time you spend on it, that's not going to be tailored to me if you spend a ton of time walking me through each step of what I do. But to show me, look at these 15 boxes up here at the top, and look at these 3. That means shorter. What does shorter mean to you? It means $5,000. Right? So that clearly depicts to me what you did. But to these guys' point, you're now aligning with me and you're using dollar amounts to convince me, as opposed to you were really trying to convince me with how wonderful the new process would feel.
Right.
I don't care.
Yeah.
She gets paid. She might as well be working. Otherwise, she might not be doing anything else, right? All right, so I think what we got to was that you have some very specific things you do well, but what's the one thing you think you want to work on that you want to show this team you're better at next month?
To tailor the slides to who I'm speaking to.
Okay.
And make the impact relevant to that person.
And do me a favor, switch to the import control slide for me.
Less wording on the slide.
Right.
Because I saw you sitting there reading, and that's why I went and explained it.
Well,
It,
can
go
I
ahead.
say one thing?
Go ahead.
So, as an organization, and this is for everybody, right? Because everyone says send me a slide, right? And we need to tailor it, right? As an organization, we don't do a good job of providing us these concise bullets. But they're kind of in there, right? Control, flexibility, visibility, technology, right? So maybe if you honed in on those 4 key areas, right? You could find a better bullet in there
Right.
that can talk to him.
Like pick one specific bullet and concise it, make it more concise versus
Yeah.
all on display. Okay.
Well, and actually, if the bullet actually talked about me, that's a brochure.
Right.
So we don't put brochures in front of presidents. At
Well, and we
really any level.
historically have a problem that we
Yeah.
give you 50 slides for one solution.
Right.
So
Right.
somewhere in there though, there's buried a guide.
Right.
Yeah. And trust me, from time and everything, I understand something like this, maybe you're stuck and you gotta put this up there. Then admit it. Listen, this is a really busy slide, there's a lot here. All I want you to look at is point number 3 in the second line. Forget about the rest of it. I put that there for other people. What's important to you is the 3rd bullet point on the 3rd line. Let's just talk about that. In fact, let me read it to you. Since you're gonna read it anyways while I'm talking. That's actually why you were having trouble getting me to feel pain, because I did not hear a word you said.
You're reading it.
And I physically did it. I physically read that while he was talking to me to see if I could hear a word he was saying. Not one word during that whole thing did I hear. Because you put it on the slide for a reason. You
Yeah.
must want me to read it. Be careful with words on slides. People will read your words, right? So that, but I think the thing to take away here is the tailoring piece. You gotta make sure you put yourself in the seat of the president, and when you evaluate these slides, make sure it meets my needs, not the needs of the person you sat with 3 days ago.
Okay.
Make sense?
Makes sense.
Awesome. How are we doing on time there,